with the internet here today. Hold that, please.
Hold it
right in front of you, towards the board.
Like put it there.
All right, keep working on lessons really quick. I'll be right with you guys. Actually, you know what? Lower that a little bit. I'll do that later. All right, so to be clear, on the record, for the video, in case you forget this is telecasted, right? Everything in the evolution lecture guide is going to be in the test. For the microevolution, anything that says honors at the end of the year on the video, or that it says extra, not included. All the population genetic stuff, videos 3 to 8, right? So all that stuff, advanced mimicry types, not going to be in the test, okay? For macroevolution, everything is in the test, including the red key terms. But for the quiz, you only have to worry about black key terms. And then for the origin and history of life, all the red key terms are not going to show up in the test. Is that clear? All right. So I said that out loud. So make sure you understood. Okay. Now I want to show you a couple things. If you go to metalinks.org, I remember the thing I had to finish. All right. So there it is. I'm sorry. I'm a little all over the place. All right. So if you go to metalinks.org, there's one thing missing there from there right now, but it's going to be there as soon as I finish this class. I just have to make sure that I upload it. But next Wednesday, you're going to be on homeroom for a very long time. And for an 8th grader, you're not going to be testing with the PSAT, right? And so they told us to give the 8th graders work to do to keep you guys busy. So what I'm going to do is this. If you go to class and homework, you go to the homework for this class. I posted a PDF with 30 pages worth of these lessons that we do here for Beringer. Are you with me? Yes. You do not need to print all 30 pages, right? But if you want, okay, all the teachers will give, geometry will give work, and algebra will give work as well. But basically, you have that time to do things to earn credit for your classes. So what I told you about the Beringers is at the end of the quarter, you're going to get 5 points for every lesson you complete, right? And so every time there's downtime, you're supposed to be working on that. I'm posting everything that has to do with evolution from the BioZone worksheets, right? As a homework in metalinks.org, and you're going to have access to that homework. And you should print as many of them as you would like, and work on them during that time that you're going to be there for 3 hours, for nothing to do. Are you with me? Every lesson that you work on will be 5 points. So I printed a range of evolution. And by the way, it will help you because it will help you review evolution, which will help you for the test. The first section is about evidence for evolution. The second section is about natural selection, the mechanisms of micro and macroevolution, and so forth. So it's really good stuff. Maybe skip on the ones that are about classification because we haven't covered that yet, but the rest of the stuff is there. Also, on metalinks.org is another homework, which is already up, which is our projects that we have for the second quarter. So on this 1 week from today, it will be the last day you turn in this thing, which is mandatory. It's not one of those, what I told you about the mandatory stuff. What happens if you don't do the mandatory stuff? You get the negative points, okay? Now, I gave a bunch of people negative points for the essay on the tracking sheet, but that's because I haven't finished grading it yet. Don't stress out. If you did it, once I grade your assignment, I reply to you and say, done, graded. Then you look at the tracking sheet and see where you're at, right? Right now, I changed the tracking sheet, but the grade book hasn't been changed yet because I haven't done the grading it, getting it. It's going to take me all the way to Thursday to finish that. But anyways, this is due on. Now, some of you guys may have actually done this worksheet already. It's evidence for evolution. If you did it, just do it again and turn it in. All right? So it'll be easy for you to do it. It's just to review evidence for evolution. It's a very important worksheet, so that's why I'm having you guys do it. Now, we will work on this essay again. Because if you guys read my study messages, I am very unsatisfied with your writing. Okay? I feel that you either have not been taught or did not show me that you have skills in text analysis. So I'm going to talk to the English Arts Department and ask them to come, hold on, and I'm going to ask them to come on board with help me teach you guys how to do this and basically get a grade in both classes. Are you with me? If they're okay with it, I'm going to check with them, right? Basically because it was not just a matter of following instructions, which some of you guys didn't do because it said the first paragraph, describe what evolution is, how it works, right? A lot of you guys just didn't do that. And then you had opinions on the fourth paragraph, where the fourth paragraph was supposed to be text analysis. What you're supposed to do is say, this is why this evidence is good, this is why this evidence is bad, talking about the reliability of the text, talking about the logic of the author, compared to the logic of the other author. You're supposed to contrast the points, nothing to do with your opinion. And you can't not do it in 4 sentences. You can't do it. Right? A well-written fourth paragraph would take you like half a page to fill in. That is a lot of work. It's not a quick assignment, all right? But in presenting the evidence, some people only cited one source. The citations were done. Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started about how you did citations. All right. So you need help with that. So now I'm not a language arts teacher, so I'm hoping that, because I honestly don't have the class time to dedicate to teach you how to write. All right. Because I'm supposed to be teaching you the content of biology and to think in biology terms. But that's a skill you should have. And so I'm going to work with her. She works on teaching you how to write. I work on teaching you the evolution stuff. By the way, while I let you guys have your own opinion, I want to make it clear that any opinion that evolution doesn't happen between, oh wait, remember, 1 second. Oh my gosh. They started laughing. I was like, they bothered us sometimes. I was like, what's going on? They were so loud right now. I hope so. 3 of them deserve the problem. Where is the other person from HCC? Oh, there she is, hiding over there. She's hiding over there. Hold on. There we go. Are you with it? I remember. All right. So as I was saying, we work together to make that happen. I was saying about the opinion. Any opinion that says evolution doesn't happen, in my book, even though I do truly believe that truth is relative, and that nobody can say I have the truth, that we keep learning and improve the truth. We talked about this before. But in my opinion, if you have an opinion that evolution doesn't happen, it's the equivalent of having the opinion that we do not orbit the sun. You need to understand that, right? That there is more evidence of the fact that we orbit, that evolution happens, than there is of that we orbit the sun. Which is why I'm making you guys do that worksheet again. Now, everybody take a deep, get up really quick. Get up. And then stretch. Do this, a stretch like this. All right, a stretch. Now, okay, now take a deep breath. Hold it. Again. All right, everybody, try to find your inner peace right now. Okay? Take a seat. Take a seat. Okay? Now,
why are you doing this?
First, let me make you happy. Okay? No quiz for macroevolution ever.
Ever?
Ever. Anybody who turned in the notes for those topics will also get the quiz points. The quiz points will count against you, such that if you do not have notes, you also didn't get just a 0 for not having notes. You're also getting a 0 for what the quiz would have been. All right? So that's the thing. Of course, if you don't have notes, all you have to do is, do something extra to make up for the fact that you didn't do those points, right? So you got to come in your own time and make up the points. Now, I'm going to talk about this timeline project. Okay. Now, there is this project is due literally almost a month from today. Okay, it is due the day of the evolution test. The day we have the evolution test, you're supposed to turn in this project to me. Okay? Now, this is what you can do. You can even do a timeline that's like a piece of paper that just keeps going on, a very long piece of paper, right? Or a foldable that kind of stretches out if you unfold it. Or you can do it as a book, like this person chose to do. Now, notice that you are actually graded by the creativity. You counts. So she actually wanted to make sure she got an A, so she was very creative. She bought some stickers, made it very nice, show the diversity of life in the front page. Now, then we have a very nice illustrative first page of her book that she created, and then it starts. So then look at all the way the timeline looks. It will have on the top the beginning of the first era. So there's these eras. Okay, the eras are the Precambrian time. Then we have the Cenozoic, the Mesozoic, the Paleozoic, and the Precambrian time. So if you look up an actual geological history of time website, they will tell you that there are more eras than that. They break it down further. But you only need, for the sake of this project, do it like that. All right? Now, some of these eras are broken down into periods. So and these are the periods which will have to show up. Of course, each period shows up in the right era. Some of the periods are broken down into epochs. And you will find, if you go to our website, that the periods all break down to epochs. But you do not need to break down to epochs unless the epoch is listed. Is that clear? So there are some periods which do not break down to epochs. For example, I do not have a Cambrian breakdown into epochs. There are epochs under the Cambrian, but you do not need to break it down, right? Because it doesn't say. But there are epochs. That a lot of the, especially the last one, the Cenozoic and the and the Mesozoic, both break down to epochs. And so you're gonna see that in a second. Okay, so don't ask questions for now. I'll illustrate it later. Now, in this document, you also have a series of facts. Some are astronomy facts, some are geosphere facts, and the astronomy facts all supposed to be in orange, yellowish. The geospheres are all brownish, like the Earth. Atmosphere will be in purplish. The hydrosphere will be in bluish, and life facts will be in green. Okay. Now, all of these life facts will have to be handwritten. Now, wait, I said for people to do it. There's two options. You can write them straight into the timeline, like this person did. They actually wrote it in the timeline. Or you can make the timeline with just the codes, L55. Are you with me? And then put them in place. And then on the back of it, you have a glossary that tells you what each code means. Regardless of how the way you do it, it needs to be color-coded. Now, for each of these facts, as it says in the first page, you have to have you do not need to have the date in which they happen. They just need to be in the right place, in the right period of time, right? And within each period, they have to be in a sequence that makes sense. So, for example, the origin of life and the birth of the sun are both in the Precambrian time, okay? But it wouldn't make sense for you to put the origin of life before the origin of the sun. Are you with me? So within each, so they all have to be in the right period. But within that period, the sequence has to make sense, right? Also, each period that's listed, and as she did that on the top of her thing, each period that's listed must have the time range, the accepted time range for that period listed up there as well. So the only thing that has to have dates is the actual period title, not the facts. Okay? Now, exact dates for events is not necessary. It's only sufficient to put it now. Events that happen at the same time, you can either put them next to each other or above each other so that they're around the same time. Now, events that span many ages, right, that occur through a lot of periods, you put them first where they start, and that's it. So you put them at the beginning, for example, the Octavio Revolution, which started in the Precambrian time, but did not finish into the Devonian time. It's so, you would say it begins on the Precambrian time. So you put it where it starts. You will be graded, each fact must have a small illustration to represent the fact, either printed or copied or drawn. Okay? Now, you will be graded based on creativity, the inclusion of all information, and on accuracy of the information. All writing must be done by hand and color-coded by the events. How do you tackle this project? The thing is that each of the things should be, in my opinion, before you start, because the key thing is that the facts are all scrambled. They don't happen in order in the list. So the real thing is putting them in the right order. So how do you put them in the right order? Work each category separately from the others. That's what my advice would be. Put the astronomy facts in order, then the hydrology facts in order, then the geology facts in order. Are you with me? For the astronomy and the geosphere facts, I have a video lecture series that I did for Earth Space Science for you to teach a long time ago that will really help you get that done. And there's also a Wikipedia article that talks about the geological history of time that will really help you figure that out. All right? For the hydrosphere facts, they're pretty obvious the order they go into, so you won't have a big problem with that. For the life facts, there is a textbook, there's the World Wide Web, and there is a Wikipedia article that says the history of life timeline, which you can use it and will help you with a lot of those facts. Okay, now, this project cannot be done 2 days before it's due. I'm telling you, it is impossible, right? It will take you like a total combined maybe 15 hours to do this project. Are you with me? Like this. Because only to scramble it will probably take you 5 hours. And then you have to draw it, you have to write it all down. Are you with me? That's why you have like a month to do it. Alright? Not 15, I'm exaggerating. You can do it in like 8 hours. Okay? Yes. Alright? A slow person will take 15 hours. But if you know what you're doing, you can do it in 8 hours. But, so which means you could do it in a day. Right? But, it's not smart to do it in a day. It's smart to start on this today. So that today you go look at it, you figure out what needs to be done, you figure out the questions you're going to have that you usually ask on Sally the day before it's due. Which, hey, from now on, I will be unavailable to answer questions about projects the day before something is due. So if you ask me macroevolution questions before the day of macro, you know what I'm saying? What topics are included in the macro? Any question about that's due the next day, I'm not there for you. Ask that question, for example, origin and history of life. I said today in class, what is you supposed to study for that? Only the what? The black key terms, of course, your objectives. So then, one day before the actual quiz, somebody comes to me and says, do we need to study the red key terms? I will not say anything to that person. I will ignore it. Now, I want you to understand, I'm not being mean. I'm actually just teaching you up. You do not start working on the, because think about it. If you're asking me that question the day before it's due, you just started studying what's basically, right? So don't do that. Now, this, let's go look at her project and see how that's like. Now, so you have the title, Precambrian time, and it has a date range for that. And then she starts listing the facts. Notice that the orange universal facts are here. Brown, geology facts are in brown. Every fact has a picture. Eventually, we have the origin of life, right? Evolution of the first prokaryotes, right? Protobions. And then we have the evolution, microscopic. Anyways, life facts start coming in little by little. Eventually, the timeline becomes primarily life facts. I only worried about the geology facts at the very beginning, but eventually it becomes primarily life facts. They have the massive stages are in there. Now notice that every time, let me go back, so there's a lot of Precambrian facts. Because the Precambrian time is the largest time span there is. But then after the Precambrian time, right, we get into the Cambrian period. Hold on. We're still waiting. All right, that was the end of the Precambrian time. Her timeline keeps going. So then you start the Paleozoic era, which ranges from 541 million years ago to 251 million years. The first block of that is Cambrian period. So it seems it's a subdivision of the era. Right? So then it goes into the Ordovician period, and then it goes into the Silurian period. And then it goes into the Devonian period, which breaks down into the Carboniferous and the Mississippi epoch and the Pennsylvanian epoch. Then we have the Permian period, which ends that Paleozoic era. Then we start the Mesozoic era. Everybody knows the Mesozoic era because it has the Triassic period, the Jurassic period, and the Cretaceous period. After this project, you will learn that the Jurassic Park is more of a Cretaceous park than a Jurassic Park. All right? So then, at the end of the Cretaceous period, you start the Mesozoic, the Cenozoic era, which is our era, which starts with the Paleozoic era, and the period, epoch. Then we have the Tertiary period, which includes the Eocene, the Oligocene, the Miocene, and the Holocene, which is where we are. In the geological history of time, modern human civilization is 1 second of, actually not even, but proportionally speaking, we are less than a millisecond of a clock that has been ticking for 24 hours. Are you with me what I'm trying to say? If the history of time is a 24-hour period, we are a fraction of that last tick of the clock before the 24 hours. So, this is not EOC biology though, okay? We don't need to know this for EOC. This is us learning biology that we wouldn't have time to learn in class, right? So, it's just a project to teach you about the history of life on Earth, Okay? Now, the real time-consuming part of the process is unscrambling the facts. Now, let me be very, very clear on how you get caught for cheating on this. Okay? There are no two students that will, I've done this for 5 years. There are never two students that unscramble them exactly the same. There are over 300 facts. The likelihood of you unscrambling exactly the same, I guess if you do it perfectly, you're going to do exactly the same. So there could be like, they have a very good overachiever, does exactly right, and another exactly achiever. But in 5 years teaching, no one has done it exactly right. Are you with me? So how do you get caught? Because you have the same sequence as someone else. Because you obviously copy from them. Not because you have the same right things, but because you have the same wrong things. So trust me, I will catch you if you cheat. Are you with me what I'm trying to say? Are you with me? So here's the deal with this. Never let anyone see your projects. Is that clear? Not to get an idea on how to do it, not to see what order you put things, what picture you use for what. Your project is doesn't matter if it's your best friend. Don't let anybody see your project. Is that clear? All right? Yes. Do not work together on this. Okay? Now, working together is like sitting there trying to figure things out. Don't do it. Don't do it. This is an individual assignment. Okay? Don't work together on it. Yes? It's a test grade. Hey, no, she said the right thing. She said the right thing. That's good. Why is it good? Yeah, it's like getting an A in a test if you do it right. Correct? Okay.
Wait, do you have another example?
All right.
I'll be very creative.
Yes, I have other examples. Yes. What? Yes, I do more samples. Yes.
You could look them up on like the internet and it'll show up and tell you the
The facts? Some of them come from a textbook that I have. Some of them come from the geological time scale on Wikipedia. Some of them come from the life scale. So, hold on. Between my... Okay, I will post links on the assignment. I'll update this instruction. In the first page, I'll post links to the 2 Wikipedia articles I'm talking about, to my lecture series that I'm talking about. All right? The only thing you won't have access to is the textbook that I talk about. But I actually have a copy of the textbook here in class. I'll have no problem with you taking a picture of the textbook page that has the timeline if you want to look at it. Are you with me? So, between those 4 articles, the 2 Wikipedia articles, my videos, and the pictures of the textbook, you can very easily figure it out. And then you have the web. You can Google a lot of stuff. All right? But you know what? Where you make a lot of mistakes. I know you guys care about doing a good job. Where you make a lot of mistakes is by not thinking when you do things. For example, people last year did things like the evolution of multicellular life. And then, before that, the evolution of vertebrates. So in other words, vertebrates are all multicellular, right? So how would you have that evolve before? Are you with me, I'm trying to say? So it's a stupid thing like that doesn't... So like, Rodinia, an ancient continent, doesn't exist anymore. Rodinia breaks apart. 6 facts later, Rodinia forms. Those are the people that get C's. Are you with me? Because, no, but you laugh now, but that stuff happens. So pay attention. Yes?
we unscramble every topic.
I would unscramble every topic first. And once you have each topic unscrambled, you unscramble it to the whole together. Are you with me? Because now I have this unscrambled and I have a general idea on which period each fact of that topic happened. Are you with me? So this is my advice. You get this fact, this is available, you download it, and you do this on the computer. You unscramble on the computer. Are you with me? So you copy the fact, move it to the right place you think it's going to be. Right? So you do it typed, the whole thing, before you do it by hand. Are you with me? What I'm saying? So you get the facts, and you create the period brackets, and you move them to the right period, in the right order. Do everything digitally first. When you have it all digitally done, you have the picture of what your project is supposed to look like, then you start writing it down. Because once you put it in the book, if you make a mistake and you figure it out, oh crap, I'm putting the algae after the plants. Oh, now you already wrote it though. How do you fix that? Right? So yeah, yes, go ahead.
We were talking about how you can have
You know how you said you could put the glossary and you put the little...
Yeah, you would just put G1, the little picture next to it, and then at the end you have the glossary with all of these things listed.
Yeah, but could you print out the glossary and then just do that?
You could print it out and then copy it by hand, yes. Alright, so, alright, let's talk about macroevolution. Clear your desk, number 2 blank sheets of paper, let's take this quiz. She knows better, I'm not having any quiz, what are you talking about?
You got it, that was easy.
Yeah, move wherever you want, no problem. I thought they were going to come to do the thing, but they did not come. So.
Miss Melanie has a question, Mr. Lee.
Yes, go ahead. Huh? Yeah, of course.
And another question.
The best one, I didn't keep it because it was very big, but the best one that I've seen ever was actually one that was a foldable, and it just kind of like, and it unfolded and actually became a timeline. It was super awesome.
The number say?
Huh? No, I wasn't saying.
Oh, what I was going to say, you said something about algae and plants. Are algae plants?
Now, plants and algae have the same common ancestor, but algae was around before plant was around. So, okay. Guys, quiet, please. What is that? Go over the macroevolution. Remember to make the habit out of leaving blank pages at the end of each topic's notes so that you can take class notes. So, also remember that there are guided lecture questions for each topic, which includes practice multiple choice questions that you can do. Alright? These are very good for you to practice with right before the test. Alright? They come from the same test bank your test comes from. Okay.
Did he tell you that's not working on to tell us? Yeah.
About what?
About the quiz.
No, they didn't tell me anything.
Oh, they're so mean.
Oh, they were like, you guys are gonna have the quiz.
We didn't have them.
I told them because they like to play pranks on you guys. I told them that you guys were going to have the quiz.
Oh, so they should
tried
have
to
it.
get me, but I knew it wasn't free.
But no. Okay. Now, if you guys have a problem with it, I'll give you all the quiz. Frankie's like I wanted because I'm getting a 0 for it because I didn't do notes. All right. Now, let's do this thing really quick. Please, Lego givers. They're already around. All right, let's see if they help you or not. Now, if a lot of you guys don't know the answers for these quizzes, I might change my mind about the quiz. So let's see if your participation is good here. All right, Gabriel. Where's Gabriel? Where's Gabriel? Gabriel, tell me something. How do I know I'm not the same species as an orangutan? How do I know? How do you know you're not an orangutan? What? Oh, I know that. Okay. No. So DNA? What about DNA? You guys don't answer for each other. Let them think and answer the question. So, Gabriel? If you're the same, how does it show you? What do you mean by it shows you? Shh, quiet. How do you know from your DNA that you're not an orangutan? It's not the same? Well, your DNA is not the same as mine, and we're both human. Well, I'm not really human, but you know, I mean, you and Frank are both human, right? But your DNA is not the same as him, so hold on. What do we mean by the same? No, serious. So, are you the same species as Frank? I know you look at him, you're not so sure. But what I mean is that are you the same species? Are we all the same species here? Yeah. And you're using the DNA, right? Are we all the same DNA? Now, how does that compare then ours versus the orangutan? Why are we the same species looking at the DNA, and we have differences, but us and the orangutan, we're definitely different species, even if you look at the DNA? How can you tell? Did you watch my videos for this or no? Okay. So if you're not watching my videos, you're going to make sure you do something else that's going to teach you just the same about all those red key terms. All right? This is actually not that hard. You probably know this. Okay? Why are you guys the same species, but we are not the same as the orangutan if you look at DNA? We are different. But what about us versus the orangutan? So if you get a human, and a human versus orangutan, and you compare the DNA, what are you going to see that's going to tell you that the orangutan is not the human? In either case, there's a difference. What's the difference then between both cases? All right, hold on. When you hear the answer, you're going to be like, what the hell? All right, look at this. So you have a human versus a human, and a human versus the orangutan. You're saying compare DNA, right? In both cases, they're different. You and me, humans, different. Human orangutan, different. So how can you tell that we are not orangutans by using DNA? Because of what? What is the difference between this comparison and this comparison? What is the result going to show you? All right, let me see. Let me put this a different way. If you go to next door to Garcia's class and you sit there for a while, are you going to figure out it's not a biology class? All right. If you go to Camper's class, you'll figure out it's a biology class. Are there differences between my class and Camper's class? Are there differences between my class and Garcia's class? So in either case, there's a difference. How could you tell that Mrs. Camper's class was still biology, but that class was not? Because what? What they're teaching? Okay. How could you tell that she was not teaching biology and she was? Sorry? Because you took it last year. Gosh, he's really having trouble getting to the logic thing that I want to get here. I don't know how to help him. And sometimes I fail as a teacher. This is an example of this. All right? So let me see. VJ, how do you know? What do you mean? You still don't have the same example. You're same place as he is. Calvo.
Because if you compare to humans, they have less differences.
There you go. Me and Kemper's class are different, but not as different. And me and Garcia's class, that's how you can tell. This is not biology because it's very different. So, all right, now, are we the same species as fish? How could you tell using the DNA? Really different. Are you with me? So, why are we closer to orangutans than we are to fish then? What does that mean about evolution though? A more recent common ancestor. Do we have similarities with fish? Yeah. DNA-wise. What does that mean about us and the fish?
We share a common ancestor.
So, what about you and me? Are we similar?
Yeah.
What does that mean about our ancestor? Even more recent. So, in a way, we're all the same. But the difference is how long ago we share a mother and a father. Are you with me? Because life descends with modification. Now, that was the first way by which we can tell differences between species, and it was DNA. There are other ways that we can tell that we're not the same species. Matthew, Raphael, what's another way? Biological species test. Being able to have sex with the other one. Can we have sex with orangutans?
No.
Yes. All right. Would we successfully make children with them though? Exactly. Now, if a species A and a species B have sex and produce a hybrid C, does that mean that they're the same species? No. Not really. Not always. Because, hold on, we're trying to determine what the biological species test is. Now, the biological species test is not if two things can have sex with each other and make children. But really, if all of these are the same species, they still, C should be able to have sex with members of the population A and still have children. C should be able to have sex with members of the population B and still have children. Even if that's possible, the children's children need to be able to have sex with it, because after a while, sometimes, example, life with example is much easier to learn with examples, which is why I like Bosby. He always gives examples. A tiger and a lion makes a liger. A liger can have sex with lions and make something that actually has babies. All right? A liger or whatever. All right? But usually, so far, nobody has made a liger capable of having children. They're all sterile. Are you with me? Which means the tiger and the lion are not the same species. Because if there was, that child and the child's children all would have been able to have sex with either of the parents. So that process of checking through sex is called the biological species test. It is the ultimate test of different species. The problem is that you can't always do it. Bacteria don't have sex, so how can you tell them apart? There are two other ways. Isabella, you have another one? The niche test. They have the same ecological role. They act the same way, they live in the same habitat, they do the same things, they have the same metabolic process. Very good. Annie, you have another one? The way it looks, morphological species test. The problem is that sometimes it looks the same, but it's not the same. In my presentation, I show examples of things which are very different, very similar, but different species. And sometimes you have things which are very different, but the same species. So you can't trust just morphology. And then, if you do just the DNA, how much DNA difference is enough to call a different species? And it becomes that thing. That's why we try as much as possible to use the biological species test. Can you do that with fossils, though? No, because the fossils can't. How do you know when you find a fossil of a human, an ancient humanoid? Not a human, a humanoid. How do you know that wasn't a human? Do you do the species test for that, the biological species test? No, because you can't screw a fossil. I mean, I guess you could try, but you can't make children with that, right? Now, you can screw up a fossil if you're digging and do the wrong thing. But you can't screw a fossil. All right, you can be screwed by a fossil, but either way, you won't succeed, right? So how do we tell then? What test do we use on fossils? What test do we use on fossils then? Yes? If you're lucky and find some DNA to test with. But if you don't find any DNA, it's just a rock. What do you find? What do you do?
In the environment.
You got to look at the environment where they lived, the kinds of shapes of their teeth. Maybe that means they ate different things. Or maybe the actual shape, morphological species test. Okay, so we covered the first thing. Why is that important? It's important because when you argue whether or not macroevolution happened, the first thing you need to do is argue what you mean by kind. Because if you say macroevolution is a change in the species, and all of a sudden you change your mind and say, oh, no, never mind, I didn't mean species, I mean genus, or family. How much difference is enough difference to say that macroevolution occurred? In biology, we say it's species. A change in the species. All right? Now, a lot of people accept macroevolution. A lot of people have problem with macroevolution. They say there's no evidence of it. I have a whole section of my videos that talks about real biological and experimental examples of actual macroevolution. For example, a population of flies grown in one place, and a population of flies grown in another place, separated for 3 years. They're growing in different cultures, right? And then 3 years later, they grouped them together. They came from the same population originally, but they were separated in different environments. And then they are returned to the same place afterwards. But then somehow, the ones that grew here and the grew there know that their forefathers came from that population. Why? In further study, they determined that the flies here got a mutation that made them change their behavior of their dance, their sex dance. And because of that, the flies here and here were no longer having sex the same way, and because of that, they would avoid having sex with each other even after becoming together. That is their initial step in macroevolution, and it's done in the lab. We also have examples of flowers which merge with other flowers to form a third kind of flower that can't have sex with either of the parent flowers. That's macroevolution. So, and then, of course, because people don't want evolution, they say, oh, I didn't mean species, I meant genus. Okay, there's an example of a type of genus evolution that has been recorded by biologists. Recent, visualized genus evolution. Oh, never mind, I meant family. Do you see the problem there? Yeah. Now, family evolution is possible, but it would take a very, 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 very long time, which is way beyond the observable. Because science has been around for 200 years. Even flies haven't had enough generations to evolve a new family of flies in that time. And we've only been doing experiments with that. With flies, we do it in flies because they replicate very quickly, and they go through many generations in a matter of 3 years. But humans? Humans go in generations for 20 years. It takes like 100,000 years for enough generations to go by, for enough genetic variation to occur, for you to say speciation occurred. No wonder we haven't seen humans evolve to a new species. We have seen it evolve, microevolution. Because microevolution is a change within the population. We've seen that in America. Is what it means to be in America the same thing it used to mean before? No. Our genetic composition has changed. That's the next question. Let's talk about it. What is the difference between micro and macroevolution? Elaria, what is microevolution?
It's like the genes of the...
Very good. Changes in the genes of the species, right? Which Octavio talked about in the beginning, right? Changes in the species, which means have the genetic makeup of the American population changed in the last 500 years? Of course. Why? Because of selection? Not just selection. We had migrations, we had genetic drift events, we had mutations that have occurred, right? And it's because of that, all 5 mechanisms. Perhaps the future, even the 6th mechanism we apply to humans. Remember I told you that now humans can change the genome of things. Corn that you eat and wheat that you eat is not the 90% of the corn we eat in this country is created by men. It is corn. It's just a human-made corn. That means that genetic makeup of that corn was designed by humans, right? So you could say that humans are a 6th mechanism of macroevolution because we can change a population because that entire field, the entire population was we that made it, right? It's not the same thing as artificial selection. We select the traits we want over many generations. No, in one generation we go there and modify the genome and make a new species. That's a 6th and new mechanism of macroevolution. One of these days, we're going to allow that to happen to humans. And then we can buy upgrades, genetic upgrades. You see why it's illegal though? A lot of people are worried about this because rich people can buy the upgrades, poor people can't. And now you start getting a species of superhumans which can pay for the upgrades and a species of lower caste that cannot. But gene therapy and other types of genetic modification are already possible and are being used to fight cancer and other diseases like Alzheimer's and stuff. But the problem is that when you stop fighting diseases and start talking about, oh, you want to buy blue eyes? We got a genetic cocktail for that. All right? Oh, you're black? You want to become white? No problem. Here's a cocktail for that. No, but you see the problem? Now the person, no, it gets worse. Oh, you're gay? I got a fix for that. You see?
But that's like in your brain.
Oh, you're Hispanic. I'm so sorry. Here's a solution for that. But you see, what I'm saying in that argument, I'm calling genes bad, right? Now remember when we talked about evolution, that doesn't actually make sense. We learned about that already. That cleansing, genetic cleansing, is actually contrary to our health stay strong. Because we need what? Variety, right? But if all of a sudden we have the new fad is being blonde. Did you buy blondeness this month? Next month they say it's going to be green eyes. But right now, purple is all the rage.
Yeah.
Seriously, one day, you think this is science fiction? It's not. We can it's close. We're that close for being able to do that. We do it already. The new fad in agriculture is having high yield, pest resistant, low water retention, high water retention, low water need plants. That's the fad right now. But somebody comes up with a cool looking corn that looks different. Oh, that's a new fad. Let's buy that. You know? Believe it or not, agricultural fads exist. Genetic fads. We'll talk more about that later. I have a lot to cover. Yes?
Isn't there already a way that like before kids are born you can like
No, but that's selection. You can't change it, it's illegal. But what you can do is before you're born, if you're doing artificial insemination, before you're born, you can scan the genetic makeup of the embryo and be like, oh, this has a disorder, I don't want that one. Let me get the other one. But that's artificial selection, basically. Are you with me? It's different from actually going in there and inserting the gene that you want in it. Alright? It looks like he's going to have that disease. No problem, let's fix that. Let's take that out and put another thing inside there. That kind of genetic manipulation in humans is illegal. Doesn't mean nobody's doing it, but it's illegal. Alright, now, macroevolution, on the other hand, is a change on the new kind of life. So it's more like this. Microevolution is a population changing within itself. But it's like this. If there's no more whiteness in the human race, will that change the human race? Yes. But would it still be human? Yes. That's microevolution. But if we send all the whites to Mars, and everybody else stays over here, right? And over over hundreds of generations, things happen differently there than here, then perhaps we could become a different species. I do understand the difference between that. Macroevolution is a change between populations. Macroevolution is a change within the population. Macroevolution is when two populations change so much that they can no longer interbreed. Is that clear? How does that happen? How does that happen? So we'll talk about that in a second. All right. First, to talk about what we need for that to occur. So Melanie Diaz, what is one thing that you need for that to occur?
For what, macro?
For macroevolution to occur.
They have to be separate.
They have to be separate, like the example I gave from Mars. So isolation is the first one. In the next session, we'll talk about some of the types of isolation which are important. All right? And then, Diego, what is another thing you need for macroevolution to occur? So let's go back to the example I was trying to say. She said separation. So we put half the human race in Mars and half the human race here. Does that mean we will become different species necessarily? No. That's only isolation. There's a second requirement. What else has to happen in order for the Martians to become different from Earthlings? In that example. Not time. You can pass the time, and the two isolated populations can still stay the same. Why can changes occur? Why not? What do I need for that to happen? One? What? Not necessarily. Yes. That could be one thing. Different selection. But is that the only way by which thing evolves? No. What else could happen in one but not the other? No. What is this? Mutations. So maybe mutations happen here but don't happen there. So they become different from us. Or maybe there's some sort of non-random mating that occurs there that does not occur here. Or maybe because a specific group of intelligent astronauts went there, they were already different to begin with. Founder effect. Right? Or maybe there's a massive disaster that happens on the Earth but not on Mars. Bottleneck. Or maybe there's a selective pressure that occurs in Mars but not here. Maybe aliens visit Mars and have sex with the Martians, but which brings alien genes into the Martian genetic makeup. What is that called that I'm talking about? What process was that? Gene flow. But in here, so you see, what happens for you to have evolution? What you need is separation, and then you need one side to evolve differently from the other. That's called vicariance. Vicariance. All right? You need vicariance. Now, remember, there are many ways for that to happen. It could be, what is that? Selection.
Gene flow.
All right, so the examples I said. Maybe the Martians pick something peculiar but we don't. Right? They like something that we don't like, and that's what has to, that's gene flow. Maybe genes come to that population that don't come to our population, like the alien example. Maybe they have a mutation that we did not have. Maybe they have non-random mating because they are in proximity to each other. Are you with me? And maybe the founder effect or genetic bottleneck effect or just the fact that there's a small population there, random occurrences will occur. Now, that's what you need. You need separation and then vicariance. Okay, so let's talk about how to achieve vicariance will happen naturally because macroevolution always happens. All right? So let's talk about how things get separated. How do things get separated? All right? So let's do that. So this is some examples that I talk about my lecture of separation. We're going to go through the examples and we're going to think about what kind of separation that is. By the way, this graph over here, guys, my lectures online have so much more than I have time to give you over here. So this is actually talking about the different mechanisms that are necessary for speciation to occur, right? But notice that they say isolation is important. But what kinds of things can change? It could be selection, it could be mutation, it could be combination, genetic drift, all right? Lots of things can cause the change in the population. All right, so let's keep going. So now, I also want to point out that there's two types of macroevolution that can occur. In one type, one population changes steadily to a different look over time. In another type, two populations become isolated geographically or for some other reason, and they change compared to each other. Are you with me? But even if you never isolate across space, you can isolate through time. So that, in other words, if I were to meet a human from 100,000 years ago, it is possible that we've changed enough from them that I wouldn't be able to have sex with them. Are you with me what I'm trying to say? Because of this kind of macroevolution. So, in other words, enough microevolution for a very long time eventually will change the species. Are you with me? If we keep microevolving for the rest of our history, eventually our kind won't look like the kind a long time ago, for example. There is actually biological evidence that shows that we have evolved, perhaps to a different species, not quite, but perhaps. because we are living older. And it's not just medicine. We did it, there's a study that just got published. Remember, when I say something, you got to look it up. But if you don't, but look it up. There's a study that was published recently that says that they did analysis that shows, genetic analysis that shows that the effects of medicine and sanitation do not completely explain the expanded lifespan of humans in the last 150 years or so. Right? We're living to be 80, almost 90 years old on average, compared to 40 years old in the Middle Ages. And medicine alone cannot account for that. There seems to have occurred a punctuated equilibrium event that has quickly made us evolve faster, right, and live longer. So see, we are changing like that. But also, if you separated ones here, ones in Mars, we could change too, like that. So macroevolution could happen in either of those ways. But let's talk about things that separate organisms. All right? So they have several examples over here. So let's talk about them. The first example, geographic separation. So, if I live in a different place, obviously I'm not having sex with I am geographically separated from the Filipinian woman. It's sad, but true. Now, this is actually very important, by the way. You need isolation for macroevolution, right? So that means if there's gene flow or migration between the populations, that slows it down. Which means our evolution as a humankind is actually slowing down right now because of what? All the travel. Are you with me? Before, look at it. Look at the Native Americans, the white, the black, and the Asians. For thousands of years, they were isolated and became very different from each other. Are you with me? Not very. But sufficiently different that we call them different races nowadays. Right? But now, with the whole jumbling of things that's going on, that actually slows down the differentiation between races. Are you with me? Okay. So, which is probably a good thing. But anyways, so this is a different one though. It seems like it's geographical, but not really. Because these birds and those birds can still have sex with each other. They're right there next to each other. But why aren't they having sex? Because they're exploring what? Different niches. So it's niche variation, niche isolation. They have different roles, different jobs, and that's why. Here's another one. Okay? These bugs, Alec, where's Alec? Right? These bugs, which are on the inside here, have sex between March and May. While the birds on the outside have sex between June and September. And another season between December and February. Why are they different species, isolated? What's separating these two very similar species? What are separating them? The fact that they have sex when? A different? What kind of separation is that? Isabella Arias? Temporal isolation. Another example is the flowers. Because each flower flowers at a different time. And that causes it to have separation. Right? Alright. Let's see another one. So these birds dance like this. You would have sex with me? Right? So like you see the nerd, it's the nerd on the dance floor versus the cool guy on the dance floor. The nerd goes like, like awkward. The cool guy has all the moves. I'm a nerd, so that's all I got. But I actually know how to do a little ballroom dancing, but I'm not gonna, But anyways, meanwhile, these birds go. So basically, the twerkers, right, and the disco dancers don't really jive. All right, so if you're a disco dancer and you see a twerker, you're like, what the hell is he doing? The twerker sees a disco dancer, is like, nope, not working for me. I like some booty, right? And so what kind of isolation is that, Octavio? Behavioral isolation. By the way, a lot of these, it's easy to see species becoming isolated by space. But even if the species are in the same geographical location, if a mutation happens that changes the dance, are you with me? That's it. That could be the beginning of a new species. Because they won't have sex anymore. Because they don't understand each other. You look at this like, what are you doing? This is not how you do it. Okay? Listen, I sometimes, in my life as an adult, mature male, sometimes I felt like I was a different species from the South Florida women. Because they just don't understand how to court properly. You can't be a gentleman. You have to be rich. It's a piece of, what I'm saying? All right. No, anyways, this is an interesting one. That snail and that snail are trying to do it. But the thing is, the shell is they can't find each other's hole. All right? What kind of isolation is that? Yes? mechanical. It's like the Chihuahua and the Saint Bernard. Chihuahua goes, it's not gonna work, right? You see what I'm saying? It's not gonna work. The Saint Bernard can even go down, but it's not gonna help. It's not gonna, oh, big mama, and it's not gonna work. All right, or pop. All right. Actually, if the papa tries to go to Chihuahua, you go, oh my God. Anyways, believe it or not, pollinators are actually an example of mechanical isolation too. Because different bees pollinate different flowers. So that, since flowers use sex toys to have sex, right? Because they don't actually have sex. One flower is here, the flower is there. So how they have sex? To the bee, right? It's to the little sex toy. Which means, but since each flower attracts a different pollinator, it's like a whole co-evolution thing. That means they are automatically separated mechanically, right? Even if you can, there are one flower and another 2 types of roses. They're the same type of rose, but they perhaps the pollen of one, the pollen of the other is incompatible. So even if the pollen of one flower falls on the other, it's not necessarily compatible. Are you with me what I'm trying to say? And even if the pollen is compatible, if one flower has 8 chromosomes and the other flower has 4 chromosomes, and they're genetically incompatible, it's still the sperm and the egg will still fail to connect together. So all of these things prevent one species to have sex with the other. Are you with me? And in the beginning, when they were not separate species, keep listening. On the beginning, when they're not separate species, are you with me? It started with something small like that. Maybe a type of flower merged with another type, became 8 chromosomes instead of just 4. Now this one that has 4 and this one that has 8 can no longer have sex with each other anymore. The species. So today we look at these separations that occur, and it's like, oh, that's why they're different species. But it's actually how it started, how they became different species was because of those separations. You know what I'm saying? Now, they can be separated by multiple versions, by the way. But even if they successively have sex and successively have children, by the way, all of these things that I just talked about are things that separate the species with reference of the biological species test. It prevents them from successfully reproducing, right? But even if you successfully reproduce, your fitness might be so low that it doesn't count as reproducing. And that's what these is about. Some of the hybrids sometimes just die before they become adults. Others have children, but they're sterile. They can't have children. Sorry. Others have children, but over time, the children's children or the children's children can't have children. And so what this means is that they have such low fitness that the hybrid is not a real viable species, and therefore the 2 main species are separated. So sometimes 2 species which are very similar to each other meet in the wild, and they look at each other, they get confused, it's like, oh, yeah, maybe. That happened to you. Your ancestors, 25,000 years ago in Europe, who has a Caucasian ancestors. So you came from Europe. So your ancestors came from Europe. You should all have your hands up. Alright? Alright, if you are from Spain, or if you are white, you had an European expression at some point. Alright? Unless you're like, blue-black, alright? Or like really pure Asian and stuff, you probably have an European ancestor. Yeah, don't touch the camera. Alright, so anyways, are you with me? If you have an European ancestor, more than likely you have Neanderthal genes inside of you. Neanderthal genes. The thing is that in Europe, 25,000 years ago, the Homo sapiens species and the Neanderthal species appear to have had fun together. Alright? And so the genes kind of hybridize. Next class we'll finish this and have a practice day, because we do meet after the lockdown. I'll see you guys then, and good luck with the PSAT, those of you taking it. Yes.